Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to get singles for all your Force of Will and other trading card games, as well as these amazing patrons. Thank you for your support. Enjoy the video. Hey there, Rulers. Welcome back after another long week of Force of Will to the Teacher's Lounge, your favorite ever live Force of Will podcast featuring myself, Jeremy Franklin, and stepping in for Josh Patton, fellow Rogues member Stuart. Say hi, Stuart.
Hey.
Filling in for non-Rogues Guild member Ryan Miles, we have Dylan Hunt. And then, as always, we have Derrick Muguneza.
How's it going, guys?
So, thank you guys, first off, for joining us for tonight. As always, if you like what we do and want to consider supporting the channel, please consider clicking that join button down below. Lets you become an alumni of Ruler School, gets you in those the intro, as well as your stuff in the description and all kinds of other perks. Plus, gets you cool little icons and Derrick spamming those emojis. We need more emojis. The more people we get to join the channel to support us here on YouTube, the more emojis we can unlock. So, it all goes directly to support us, to get us to more tournaments, get us better equipment and everything else. So if you like what we're doing, go ahead and consider clicking that button. But we're going to get out of the shilling super fast and jump in talking about, we have our first GP coming up for this season, GP Vegas.
We're talking about, boys.
Everybody in this current lounge tonight is going to be at Vegas. It's going to be hype. I'm going to be streaming it. These guys are playing it. And it is release weekend, and it is not a sealed tournament.
That's why I'm going. Yeah. Release week.
Not again.
I think
Gotta roll Prissia again.
last season, the only release weekend event was a limited format, wasn't it?
Yeah,
No.
Pennsylvania.
At Anime North was a sponsored, or was a release week event for Toronto.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and Pennsylvania. Was the same
Hey, Pennsylvania? Ooh, so not our first time, not our first rodeo.
But
It'll be a little bit different
last year, and that's why it's better this year.
It'll be a little bit different because we have reprints, so like at least not all the cards are new, but also at the same time, those reprints will be potentially very crazy, so who knows? For instance, for those of you who don't know, Italy spoiled. We knew the two stones were happening. We knew Dark Depths was happening. We knew Blasting Waves was happening, because obviously blue, black, and green, red. But the two cards they also spoiled were Rapid Growth and Space-Time Anomaly. So Space-Time Anomaly, previously a memorial, now back as a full card. And Rapid Growth, a pretty, that card faded in and out of the meta through the entire time that it existed. So I think that's a very relevant reprint. But what we want to talk about tonight is, I think at this point in the current meta of Alice Origins 1, we have a pretty good sense of what the top 3 decks are in terms of the tweakings within them, like the card choices within them, the tech choices, the sideboard, that kind of stuff. That's all different, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong if you guys feel differently, I think at this point we've kind of decided that Adam, Perfect Loki, and Isis are kind of like the 3 big decks of this current format with Alice Origins 1. Would you say that's fair?
Current format, yeah, I'd say that's fair.
Yeah, I'd say that's accurate, yeah.
Stuart, would you agree?
That's the great thing, it's not the current format.
Yeah, I do.
Stuart, would you agree with us?
I agree.
Cool. So, the thing is,
Everything.
bought your 4 promos this morning. Space Time Anomaly. Yeah, snag them. Those promos are gorgeous when they're foil. I have my Japanese set, and I'm just like, so
I'll be rocking that Memoria version.
yeah. So the question becomes, though, we're about to be entering a format. So Perfect Loki is pretty consistently blue, black, green, splash white if you're Derrick. And then Adam is probably playing all 4 colors, particularly heavy on white, red, and blue. And then Isis is going back and forth between red, white, black, and red, white, black, splash green. It's trying to kind of see if it can reach to that 4th color based on the build. So the interesting thing is 2 of those 3 decks really like red. And this format, this coming set is going to be red-green, which is kind of not entirely what those decks are trying to do. And there's a lot of new stuff. So my question is, and the thing I'd like to talk about is, we currently have the ability to test for the current meta And Vegas is not the current meta. So if you're
Correct.
looking at being intensive about your training, if you're looking at being intensive about your testing, or kind of what you need to do to prepare for Vegas, in your guys' eyes, the discussion I'd like to have is, what can players be focusing their time on now to best prepare them for what that looks like?
Well, I would think the biggest thing is to focus on the power cards of the format. So the biggest thing that I find people kind of getting trapped in a lot, and it's kind of what we opened with, was yes, these decks are the current best decks. That is 100% true for the, well, okay, I shouldn't say 100. It's basically true. But the thing is, it's really easy to get caught up on like, oh, so this is the current best deck. This is what I need to play against her. It's like, well, no, because even if this deck is currently the best and either that carries over, it'll still change drastically with the new card pool, right? Like, I think DBV was a really, or sorry, not even DBV, Awakening was a really big example of that, because Dark went from something that had like nothing at all to all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, I can turbo like all these different things, including like the Flame Swordsman, get him out, get out another like Athenia, I hit you with swiftness with that. It's like, oh, I'm down to 2 life and I have no stones. Okay, like things can change very, very drastically with one set, right? But even to less of a degree, a lot of the different matchups might suddenly become better. Like, for example, let's say you're a stranger deck and you're struggling a lot with runes. We did see that that Italian leak for the Don't Cheat. Cancels a chant if it was played out of, or either not from the hand, or if it was paid. Sorry, if it wasn't paid from the hand for its cost.
So it's three. So for those of you who haven't seen it, Don't Cheat is a 3-cost blade art chant. And it has quick cast. And so it's triple green, and it says cancel target chant spell. However, if that card you're trying to cancel was played from somewhere other than the hand, it's free to cast. Don't Cheat is free to cast. And then if you control the Wind Regalia, you draw a card.
Right.
Oh, I actually didn't know that. That's even better.
Yeah.
But if you're, for example, if you were a stranger deck and you're struggling on with rune chants, like for example, Harvesting Season to set up a perfect Loki, well, now all of a sudden you have a free answer that could potentially draw you a card as well, which is pretty okay in my book, right? And it's like, wow. So I'm drawing a card and canceling their turn 1. I guess they're either not going to do a Harvesting Season, or they have to run their own ability to stop you from doing that counter spell, which drastically is going to change how their deck composition works, unless they're just going to try and bluff and hope you don't have it. I mean, you might not, but...
Right. It's so the things that, as far as we know at the current time, the things that Don't Cheat can stop are chant runes from the rune deck, remnant spells from the graveyard, and anything that's cloned by Shakti. Those are the only things that it can those are the things that it can currently cancel. So those are the 3 things that it can cancel. The interesting thing here is I agree that is surprising. Like, people were talking in this set, I think the number one thing that I heard people discussing with this set as we heard about the potential for Vegas was just like, oh, it's just going to be nothing but rune rulers. Like, the stranger rulers don't have enough to be able to keep up. Like, rune rulers are just really powerful right now. And I get that, but we're about to be into a format where pretty much all the rune ruler or the stranger rulers are going to have additional strangers that they can probably pull from to tweak their stranger decks. And they have this card, which literally does nothing to stranger rulers, and it's just a pure hard counter to rune rulers potentially. Now, I do think that certain rune rulers are hit harder by this.
Absolutely.
I think you made a really good point with Harvesting Season. Harvesting Season, and I will be forthcoming in the fact that of Adam or Perfect Loki, I have more experience on Adam and less on Perfect Loki, so maybe my 2 Perfect Loki players can speak more to this. Harvesting Season feels like a really important card for that deck. Would you guys agree?
Well, so I'm kind of a weird person to ask, because I personally have kind of shied away from playing the Harvest Season and stuff like that. I've been more focusing on more of I don't really want to say tempo variant, but focusing more on Return of God and trying to get just a bunch of bodies and play with that. Return of God with 3 stones. I get to play Athenia, Recover Stone.
Or it's not Return of God, it's the mystery box you can't cancel, right? You can cancel Return of God normally?
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's another thing that is pretty key that's going to get hit by that spell, right? Well, unless you're playing it from hand, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
I mean, still
True.
potentially, it gets discounted because of Regalia, so...
Yeah,
that's the other thing too. This one card already has generated so much discussion just in a couple of minutes, but the other thing is that the Regalia itself can pay 2 of the cost toward it, and it would draw you a card if you have the Regalia. So even if they don't play any runes at all, it's already going to be a card that cancels a chant and draws a card. So even if they play cards from their hand, he makes a good point that yes, it definitely still has implications there, right? So that's why I'm so hesitant to be like, let's focus on decks. It's really important to focus on what's the good things about each deck, because even let's say you won't see Adam anymore, you might see a lot of the tricks that he has in his deck incorporated into a new deck, and that's why it's really important to see, hey, this random deck I just seen, I don't know what this does, but I see he has, I don't know, a yellow and a red. I know a lot of things he can do with that. Here's what in my head he might have on him, because I know Ryan's really good for that. When you play against him, you just see him in his head. He's just like, oh, you could have this, you could have this. If I kill this, you might have this, and just going through literally everything in like 20 seconds.
Yeah, I think you're right that right now the focus of testing, kind of like the thought process, needs to be less on decks and more on cards, which is weird because decks are made up of cards. But like I think there's like I had a conversation with someone earlier today talking about Izanami. And we've been utilizing Izanami a lot, but like, and so when I think Izanami, I think of like how Perfect Loki and Adam are using Izanami, but really any deck can use Izanami. So like you have to think about like what if that's a power card we think going into this next set. What are some of the potential ways that different decks could make use of that strategy? Not just what's Adam going to do with it. I think of Don't Cheat is interesting. It's this weird kind of toss-up, right? Because with Don't Cheat, I think Perfect Loki is more susceptible to Don't Cheat stopping what they want to be doing. I think that but the toss-up. Go ahead.
Play one rune ruler, right? So you're just playing Adam now. You're not playing Loki anymore.
I think that's probably true and here's the reason why, is because Adam doesn't. So there's a couple reasons. Don't Cheat can't stop pure runes. And Adam utilizes at least 2 pure runes in every copy of the rune deck, at least with the current meta, which is Dispel and the Master Rune. The other thing is, Adam actually doesn't care if you cancel them, because all of their runes outside of like outside of Yokai Festival are relatively low impact. Like, they just want them to be face up so that they can have Kaguya for 2. And Don't Cheat doesn't stop that. Don't Cheat doesn't say, no, put that back face down. So that's interesting. It's actually kind of one of the things I was talking about. The trade-up is like Perfect Loki has this new card that kind of stops its runes from doing what it's doing, but it's going to have the advantage of now it has dual stones, like blue-black and green-blue dual stones. That before Don't Cheat was, and Derrick can attest to this, Stuart can as well, before Don't Cheat was spoiled, my 100% thought was that Perfect Loki was like absolutely going to be terrifying. Like, we gave that deck that is primarily blue-black-green a blue-black stone and a green-blue stone. Like, that's very terrifying to me. But don't cheat already has me reconsidering. Like, that can be a good way to like keep it in check. Still think it's strong.
The rune rulers,
but keep it in check.
There's a bit of a thing too. Like, for example, you mentioned it doesn't cancel pure runes. Well, now all of a sudden Hanzo has an additional cancel, and if they use their master rune, you can't use Don't Cheat against it. So there's even more caveat to that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, and I think it's what.
I don't think I'll see Hanzo, but it's still a thing,
like that,
right?
So.
Go ahead, Stuart.
It's a really good idea. I think it was a really smart idea for them to do that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that, and it just has me really interested to see what comes. Like, going into, as I was prepping today for the Vegas stream, I was like pulling down card images and everything else, looking at all the different cards, and I was like, man, I think I know what the good decks are going to be for this tournament. However, I have a full 80 cards that I have not seen.
Yep, and that's why I don't enjoy testing deck to deck before the hand. When I know at least some of the spoilers, I can say, well, I have a much better idea of what I'm going to be seeing or what will be good. But when you're entirely in the dark on what's going on in the set, well, you can't really make those accurate estimations, right?
Yep. So I think the best. Yeah, it's so weird, and I don't mean to toot my own horn, just because we exist. But it kind of feels like one of the instances where maybe one of the best things you could be doing as a player is just watching games, not necessarily playing them, because you just kind of want to learn what decks are trying to do, so that you can start identifying those power cards like Dylan was talking about. I mean, I could be wrong in that idea, but it's just a thought.
I would kind of say you're right. Like, I don't really start heavily testing until I know what's going on. But at the same time, I think it's really important that you're the one in the pilot seat or on the receiving end going, hey, this feels awful. I was at 1 mana and I did this play, and it really doesn't work out because he's got the follow-up play, right? So stuff like that is stuff you only really gain from being in the pilot seat, or again, being the one receiving that that sucks kind of feeling. And you won't really commit that to memory unless you've actually practiced and experienced it, right? But I definitely agree with the don't go hardcore and like practice do all your practicing and then find out that 80 cards are going to change everything.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like it could be like a worthwhile idea. Like, say if you have a locals or something, and you see like a neat deck list posted online, like they're all, this is the ISIS list I've been trying out. Like, you know, but even say you've like been interested in ISIS, like why not just try it out? You know, like try to get familiarize yourself with the deck. You know, familiarize yourself with some of the play lines. It's like, all right, if I go this route, like what would be the best thing to do here? And then come time for like Vegas or something like that, if you end up like not playing ISIS, but you play against an ISIS, it's like, all right, well, I know what I would do in this situation. Maybe my opponent would do something similar to that effect, given what they have. So,
and I think when you pilot decks and you try stuff like that, you start to recognize which cards are the linchpins, like which cards, because there are cards that like I'll put it into this category. There are cards that are finishers, right? And those are win cons, and we talk about those. But there are cards that are linchpins that, like, you can't really get to the finisher if you don't have this, right? The finisher doesn't... I speak to, like, against ISIS. Like ISIS, right? Nyarlathotep is the finisher. Like, wholeheartedly, Nyarlathotep is the way that they're trying to finish the game. ISIS is absolutely the linchpin. Like, play against an ISIS deck. When ISIS first came out and we had Nyarlathotep, everyone was so focused on trying to hit Nyarlathotep with like everything. They were just like, I don't want that card to stick, I don't want that card to stick, I don't want that card to stick. And then people started to recognize, like, wait a minute, what if we just constantly answer ISIS? And then people realized, oh wait, that card stumbles a lot if you can answer the ISIS. Like, sometimes when you're thinking about those power cards, the thing that you're not always first looking at is the card to pay attention to. And I think that when you're doing that, when you're trying out different decks, when you're trying out how they play, when you're looking at different deck lists and trying to figure it out, you'll start to see, like, okay, what am I actually concerned with? And I think that helps a lot, one, when you're doing deck building, because it also helps you identify what your sideboard choices need to be, because there are certain cards that are better for finishers and certain cards that are better for linchpin cards. Like, and that'll start to help you make better sideboarding decisions, because you're starting to recognize, what do I actually need to care about? And so the more that you practice and you try these other different decks, even if it's proxying, even if it's playing on untap, everything else, that's going to help you a lot, because it's going to help you also feel more comfortable when that deck shows up against you. Because you're going to be able to go like, oh, wait, I don't have to worry about your Nyarlathotep as long as I answer this. I don't have to worry about your, whatever. And the other thing is, I'll speak to this a lot. Dark Alice, like, that's a card that everyone's talking about right now, right? Dark Alice is not a win con.
Yeah, she's not. Like,
she's not. She's a 2/5.
She's in a lot of matchups, like a lot of different decks, but a lot of the time it's just like I get to seal Lenneth off as a free removal instead of getting the stuff back, or it's not like crazy. Value,
yeah, it's not
good. Obviously, you'd want it, but it's one of those things where, like you said with the linchpins, like playing the deck, you can say like, hey, if I haven't seen ISIS, I'm not really able to push moons out very easily or effectively, or even just to get that little bit of push. So you know that they're struggling a bit if they haven't seen their ISIS yet. So just kind of the opposite, right. Like knowing that that's their starter, well, it gets them going. Even if you see a lot of moons on the field, you're like, well, the Nyarlathotep is probably either not in their hand, or it's going to be a little bit less powerful than if they'd actually seen the ISIS already, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I've had a lot of matchups where I've been playing as Adam, and a player like commits more than they should to trying to kill the Dark Alice, and I'm like, okay, man, you got it.
Yeah, it's Dark Alice.
Here's Zeus Alice's. Like, you wasted your things. Like,
I only
Perfect,
got solid value at like 4 cards. That's fine.
perfect will only matters like maybe for 2 turns for Adam. Like really only matters
you
for
really
like 2
have to
steps.
have really proper card eval.
Yeah.
I mean, at its core, Dark Ellis is still a 1 mana card, right? So
Yeah.
expending more mana to destroy it or get rid of it, it's obviously minus tempo.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
I think there might have been an argument for it like last format where like there wasn't any dual stones and like even then to that point. But
That's what makes
there
it
was
such
like
a good
in
card,
certain
though.
decks, in certain decks it was just like, oh, you're relying on this to fix all of your stones. So like if I kill it, then your deck can't go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like
With
that's
that
sure.
perspective,
a really
it becomes,
important
like the
point.
ISIS, so to speak. Yeah.
You really got to analyze what they would have built the deck for, and chances are they didn't build the entire deck to need Dark Alice to function. So, I mean, like that's the thing about that's the thing about bigger events, right? You might play the one guy who's like, "Yeah, my whole deck is built around Dark Alice function." Like, oh, come on, if I would have known that, like,
kill
Right.
your
the chances
Dark
are
Ellis,
they
I scoop. Like,
yeah,
that's
basically,
easy.
like they probably aren't doing that, but you never know. Like, it's about analyzing your opponent as much as the deck, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be the biggest. I think the biggest thing is as spoilers start to come out.
Yeah.
I think doing the groundwork now of like, because we're probably about maybe a week to a week and a half away from starting to see spoilers. Hopefully on the shorter side of that spectrum than the longer.
Spoilers are nice,
Give me spoilers tomorrow.
knowing what you're gonna be up against.
Yeah, for sure. But I think the more like walking away from tonight, I think the best thing that people can do is to start to really get into that practice of like doing the solid card analysis, trying to get used to other decks, identifying what those linchpins are and everything else, because then you have a basis to evaluate your spoilers. I have seen so many, and the Force of Will community as a whole has had this problem throughout Force of Will's history
It's true.
of they see a spoiler and they view the spoiler in a vacuum and they go, oh my gosh, this thing is insane. And then the actual set drops and people try it and go, oh wait, this is shit.
I find the thing is people usually have very, very specific opinions. Like, for example, a really good example I like to go to was Montreal when the Return of the Dragon Emperor dropped, and everyone's like, man, Priscia is really good with Regalia, and they kind of get like tunnel vision. It's like, man, this is awesome. It's like, well, Spinning Myths is also a pretty good card, and it happens to tuner in a guy that's really huge, and then it ramps you into a stone, and that's going to give it swiftness and flying. It's like, wow, that's pretty good, right? It's like, well, apparently no one in the event actually understood that except for me, so I was the only one rocking that deck. I mean, there were a couple other interesting Priscia builds too. Like, I never thought about Jack and the Beanstalk. That's what
Yep.
Aaron was playing.
I was also playing, I was at that same event, and I was also playing Spinning Mist, but I was playing Valentina because I was more comfortable with it. And I wanted to be able to get Death Scythe constantly. It ended up being not the right call, but like the Forcible community like speaks to that. The Forcible community, I think outside of you and me, I don't think anyone were playing really Spinning Mist at all. And the Forcible community very quickly gets tunnel vision. I'll speak to other situations like Gwyber. When Gwyber was spoiled for this format,
that was not as big a deck as I thought it would be.
I'll also speak to Rachel when Rachel was first spoiled. Like the entire Force of Will community, went like Rachel is the only card, and then Rachel didn't do anything.
A solid month and a half, everyone just like, oh, I guess I can't play because Rachel is. I'm like, bro, we haven't even had the card played in a deck in any reasonable form.
Right.
Like, yeah, milling is cool, but like no one's actually used the card.
You just look at the mana cost and you just go, okay, it just costs too much for the effects.
Yeah.
Right, and then you have
like,
even more like this. I think Alice Origins is probably the most in one set where people have tunnel visioned and realized it's bad. Like Gwyber and Rugeg, like
they're not bad. We just don't have the tools to use.
Right,
them,
exactly.
Like,
that's what I'm saying. It's like everyone tunnel visioned on them as being like,
quantity of tools like leave for the rook eggs and stuff. It's like, wow, when you can rook egg for free on demand, that's pretty good, right? It's like, but when you definitely need a Gwen, it's a little less good. It's still good, but
right, exactly.
We had an actual engine, but now we just have parts. Like, what do we do with them?
Right, which is
thing,
great because also I was just
with them, but you gotta make it actually become an engine at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. Everyone is talking about like, oh man, Guinevere, and like Guinevere's good. Guinevere is a poor man's Dark Alice.
Dark Alice.
Like,
I'll be real. The fact that you
Alice
don't have to invest mana into it, like I've always hated Gwen. I hate her so much. But I saw Ryan's Meldris deck and I tried it out for a little bit. And honestly, the Gwen puts in a lot more work than people give her credit for.
Yeah, I think that, but I think she's good. I think that she's good. The Force and Will community, when she was printed, was just like, oh man,
people,
like, this is it, we're done. Guinevere and Rukeg is
like,
back. And it's just like, stop doing that tunnel vision. And I think you need to, the main thing I think, the takeaway as spoilers start to come out, is you have to look at it in the grand context. Like, I don't form an opinion on a spoiler card until like 4 hours later when I've sat back and thought about it. Like, you just read the card and view it and you go, okay, think about it. Because you have to think about a few pieces. 1, what is that card trying to do? 2, is there already a card that does it and better? 3, is what it's trying to do beneficial to what my deck, one of the competitive decks is trying to do? And 4, is this somehow enabling a new competitive strategy that I didn't think about? And 5, like, is what it's trying to do even competitive? Right? And I think you have to think about, I mean, like, it's a lot to think about for a single card, for a spoiler, but, like, you look at a card, and, like, if it doesn't meet a lot of those criteria, then it's not going to get you there. And if you look at things like Rachel, or Gwyber now, right, it doesn't meet a lot of those criteria. And so when people first freaked out about it, like, oh man, I can turbo out Drake on turn 2. And I'm like, why? Why are you trying to turbo out Drake? Like, what is the point of that? You know,
well, it's another one of those things where it's like, I find that people do that exact approach a lot. They do think about it a lot, but the problem is they're thinking about it as if this is the only card in the set and we're going from there. Like, when I saw Gwyber, I'm like, that's cool, but what else is in the set? Because I need to see the whole picture before I can really appreciate what this card will do, right? So I don't like judging spoilers until I've seen the entire set, because, again, I wouldn't have looked at Spinning Myth the same way if I just looked at it for an hour and said, yeah, this is a good card. It ramps me one. Like, that wouldn't have been the end picture that I ended up with, right? But
right,
if I had done it the way that a lot of people do, I would have been like, oh, that's all it does? Okay, moving on.
I find that a lot of people take a look at each of the cards individually, and what you need to look for is synergy. Like, the more synergistic the cards are, the better off you're going to end up being. So,
Dylan, your camera has frozen, just a heads up.
Oh, all right.
I look fine on my. Oh, unless. All right.
Better?
He's back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're right, Stuart. Is like, everyone looks at cards in a vacuum and doesn't actually look at the overall synergy value of a card, because that's when you start to see, like, just how good a card is. I think Misty, I think a good example of that is the evolution of Adam to this point with Misty Woods, right? Because I don't think when Misty Woods first come out, and we had like Kaguya, and we had like the ability to make green-white consistent with everything else. Clearly, that was better for the synergy, right? That deck wanted to be synergizing into Kaguya as much as possible, everything else. And then we lost green-white consistently, and we lost Ferrospell and Lorraine and a bunch of other stuff. And then you start to look at a card like Misty Woods, and it's just kind of like it replaces itself most of the time, and then it just kind of sits there. And then look at how many things in your deck it grabs for 1, and then look at how many of the things it turns on in your deck for 2, colorless at instant speed. Like,
Grabs Alice.
that card's so good.
Misty Woods is.
We also did get dual stones that like synergize with the entirety of Adam.
Right, I understand that, but even if we didn't, if we didn't have dual stones, I still think that blue-white Adam would still be top. Would still be at a high list, because we get the quick cast Angel that can just be like, psych, suddenly blue. Like,
I think if they'd given us all the dual stones at the same time, it would be a very different picture.
Oh, I agree. I agree
wholeheartedly. So much favored more, right?
I agree wholeheartedly. I'm terrified for when Gusting Skies gets printed, but also at the same time, like, they've shown me that the cards from the past set, they've shown me that the cards from Valhalla are not guaranteed safe with something like Don't Cheat, with stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out. It'll be interesting to see everything else, in that regard. But I think as we prep towards Vegas, it's important to remind yourself of what Vegas truly represents, and what the weeks leading up to what the weeks leading up to Vegas will look like in terms of where your focus needs to be. Because if you're just trying to grind gauntlet games right now, congrats, you're really practiced on a deck that means nothing.
I mean, I'm as much as I hate saying the gauntlet grind, I do think it's still important. It just, a lot. Don't put 24 hours into grinding. Just do some basic tasks. Just play out some decks. Like, go to your locals, play it out with the deck, go over what was good and what wasn't, that kind of stuff.
The purpose of the grind is different, right?
Do the grind when you have everything. When you have all the set and you have a week to go, that's when it's grind time. That's when you sit down for 24 hours and go. But before that, you just kind of go easy, learn how all the decks work more or less. Don't take the time to learn all the nuances 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Change a little bit. So, like for example, if let's say, I don't know, Tom had a really hard time with other runes, and all of a sudden now it has don't cheat. It's like, okay, well, now that nuance doesn't matter anymore, right?
You know, as the Adam player who recognizes that perfect Loki is somewhat annoying, don't cheat is probably taking up cards in my sideboard.
No, I know. I'm just giving you a very general example. We only have one card from the set, so I don't really have a whole lot of other examples I can lean on.
Right.
Do cheat. Cheat card.
Yeah, there you go.
Jamie in the chat is saying Vegas will be DBV at power with the duels. You don't need a single new card due to DBV power level. I disagree with you on that.
I disagree.
I mean, maybe, but
I think that if you put up a deck that is using purely DBV cards and no cards from Alice Origins versus a deck that is using versus a deck that's purely DBV plus Alice Origins, I think that the DBV plus Alice Origins is going to beat you, probably every time.
Yeah, it's really important that even if your stuff is a really high power level, you take what you can get. Like, if you're given extra tools that actually solve problems, why would you not use the tools, right?
Cough, Izanami, cough,
really
cough.
Need a drill. You could hammer through the wall, but it's probably not a good solution, right?
If he comes out for one and they use their removal on him, I think that's generally okay. Oh, no, please don't tell me my internet is being wonky. Okay, cool. It's not. Someone said, if he comes out for one and they use the removal on him, I think that's okay. You generally have better cards on field with Knight. Oh, someone's talking about Knights. Someone's talking about Gwyber. The problem is that Gwyber takes a lot more commitment to put on field than what you actually think in this current meta, and then he just gets answered.
There's not the tools to turbo mode like there was in the feasting format, for example.
And then you just get super, and then he gets super efficiently removed, and then you're like,
he'd be good if he was free.
Yeah, if he was like...
Well, I mean, he is normally free when he is good, but 90% of the time you can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he'd be good if he's free, but he's not.
If he's like too cheaper, he's still a sizable investment. And if it takes 2 or 3 turns to get him out, well, now he's just a big regular guy. He's not like a turn 1 12 flyer that's punching you in the face, right?
What Alice Origins cards what type of cards would you need for your Atom, for example? What Alice Origins cards would hypothetically outshine any DBV card? Let me talk... Okay, hold on. Allow me to... This is a great question, Jamie. I totally am good with you answering these questions. Asking these questions. Let me talk about the Alice Origin cards that I have put into my Atom deck. I am playing 2 Izanamis, 2 Bewildering Charms, 3 Light of Raisin Revives, and in the main, I'm playing 1 Light of Sacred Spirit. In the sideboard, I'm playing 2 more Light of Sacred Spirit and at least 1 more Izanami.
Also Guinevere.
Oh, and Guinevere, sorry. And Guinevere, because why not? I'm playing 3 copies. So, what those cards do for Adam is they give... they shifted Adam to... Pretty much 100% of the deck is dedicated... It can be categorized as 2 different cards. One is that it's winning me the game. And 2 is that it's stopping you from winning the game. Izanami, Light of Sacred Spirits, Light of Raisin Revive, Guinevere is pretty much Bewildering Charm. Everything else is saying that even if my hand is stumbling to get online, you are definitely not doing anything while I'm stumbling. And before Alice Origins, Adam doesn't really have those kinds of tools. So as Alice Origins really helped shore up that linchpin in the Atom deck. I've played games playing Atom where I didn't get Dark Alice, I didn't get Atom like engraved, like I didn't get it online until like turn 6, 7, 8, and I was still at like 3600 life, just because everything else in my hand was just like, well, you're not playing the game, cool. And I think that Alice Origins helped to make that happen.
I mean, it is a good point that there is a lot of removal in this format, but
Right.
I think it's to a grain of salt. There's also lots of things that are hard to remove in this format, or that if you do remove them, they can respond, or all that kind of stuff. Like, honestly, just saying there's a lot of removal in the format doesn't change a whole lot, other than the fact you got to keep it in mind.
Yeah, for sure. Doesn't change
Doesn't
the
mean
fact
that
that
if
the
you have
power
to
of your
put
deck
Viper-
comes from DBV. You're right.
If you
Yeah, I
could
mean,
get a
the
free
shell of
Viper,
the deck is DBV, but
yeah, I don't think that
cards outside.
really affects anything other than the fact that, yeah, you are playing some DBV cards, but, like, the deck is still the deck, right?
Without DBV, there isn't even that much to make any consideration. That's fair. I mean, DBV is the set of power currently. I think that we have to see what these next 80 cards do, and they could start to tell you like, hey, DBV's not as important as it was anymore. Like we could start to see.
I've been playing with Melgus a lot just to kind of see like how strong the strangers can be on their own, and yeah, it's not quite DBV, but honestly, if there was a little more red, which there will be in the new set, for example, It's like, well, you could actually have a really powerful deck on your hands. A lot of stuff you could go with. Now, is that quite the same as DBV? Well, no, but it doesn't mean that you can invalidate everything just because DBV exists, right?
Right. I mean, like
Yeah,
my
it's not
brain
silly.
first when Lancelot first got spoiled, my brain went, okay, that's a good card, but we don't have Necromancy of the Undead Lord, and we don't have Reflect Refrain, right? So that card naturally lost some of its ease of access to its burn 7, so it's probably not as good anymore. Well, we got confirmed that Rapid Growth is back. Is Rapid Growth enough to suddenly make Lancelot relevant?
Probably
Maybe,
not. No.
maybe we don't know, but it is a lot more to make me go, oh, that burn 7 is not as hard to get to now, especially knowing that we're gonna have a green-red stone. So suddenly, a lot more of like, it just makes me think a lot more about what potential. It changes things. It changes how you look at cards.
No longer a crappy Shakti. Now he has an actual purpose in the format. So
Right.
Debatable.
well, he's got more of a purpose than he did when he was a shitty Shakti. So.
So yeah, I think the big takeaway is that if you're planning on coming to Vegas, which I hope you are, and by the way, there's a link down below in the description to the website for Carta Magica with all of the information.
Give them your money.
It's got the registration link for the tournament, which is free, by the way. It's got the registration link to get your badge for Level Up Expo, which you have to get into the tournament. It's got hotel discount tickets, a website to help you get into hotels and stuff like that. Like, please show up. I know that Alex is prepping a really good event. I'm really excited about it. And currently a ton of, I know a lot of Force of Will players who are coming, like old guard Force of Will players who are coming, even without having access to DBV as easily, just because we're starting to kind of, like we talked about this last week, we're starting to see that surge of players who are like, oh, wait a minute, I really like these cards. I'd play with these cards again. Starting to come back. So I think if you've never been to a GP before, I definitely think that you should try to make it to Vegas, because it's going to be a really wild and random meta, potentially. It's going to be a lot of fun, because we have a ton of cool players who are joining us, and I think it's going to be just a good experience for you, so please consider checking it out.
There's nothing more fun than the weekend you set drops. It's just, it's so good.
Yeah.
Complete
Chaos
I'm
everywhere.
absolutely terrified. I'm not looking forward to streaming it. I am, but also, having to do quick card changes on the fly of,
90% of the time you sit down, you're just like, what the heck is this? All right.
what card is
all
this?
right. I guess we're going to play around whatever the hell you could have.
I'm probably going to have a binder in front of me with one of every card, just so I can be like, what does that card do again?
This one's not in the manual, boys.
We did that for Worlds last year, and it was very helpful, but we're probably going to have to do it for this year.
I've just seen Jeremy furiously flipping through a binder, trying to pull it out of the binder. This one.
Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else in the chat that people are talking
Priscia
about.
will be good. We know it, because she's Priscia, so.
Hey.
Yeah, but I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see what comes with Prisia. Because
destruction and terror.
Everyone is saying red. Everyone's assuming red green, so they're just like, I mean, we know red green, but everyone's like,
we've seen Malgus, and he's not as aggro as he could be. Like he's really aggro, but like it's not like the be all end all. So if Prissy is any indicator of that same level of power, then she'll probably be good, but not like give all your guys swiftness, you win the game.
She's just gonna be a classic Simi deck, make things big, you know.
Yeah, who knows? Or she could be a tempo deck based on. I mean, she could be a tempo deck based on what what gets reprinted.
Get sprint.
Sprint to the Beast Lady. All your guys gain +6/+6 and swiftness until end of turn. Whoo, baby!
Man, sprint with J Ruler gets the buff. Oh, I love sprint. But honestly, what was the other one? There was like a lighter sprint that came out in. The command of the. Shoot, I play it so much. I think I'd remember.
Winged Lord?
Fair's command, that's the one.
Oh,
yeah, the 7-drop. Recover all your dudes, give them 10 in swiftness or 10 in pierce.
Yeah, maybe we'll get Sacred Elf. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jerry made that face. He knows.
Step.
We need some more Sacred Elf.
Need some more Sacred Elf. Let's just bring.
Regalia. That's close enough, right?
Jeez.
Yeah. All right, give us a Regalia that can put Sacred Elves into play.
Okay, so let's say this. Okay,
Exactly.
let's do this because this will be fun to kind of wrap it up. You are allowed 2 reprints. The Forcible Company calls you up and goes, "Oh, Stuart," and you are allowed to reprint 1 spell and 1 resonator from Alice Cluster. That is associated with Lapis. That is associated with Valentina, Machina, or Prisia. What do you pick?
Oh god, this is so.
Whoever wants to go first can go.
This is so hard.
You're allowed to reprint 1 resonator and 1 spell.
Resonator, that would work with Prisia. Wow. You think having played Prisia so much, I would actually think of a Resonator that goes with it, but
I'm gonna go.
I guess the Prisia Resonator? Yeah, let's put that in. It was a Memoria in last set, but sure, it's pretty on par with one she does.
The 3-drop? You want to reprint? She was Lapis Cluster. That's a Lapis Cluster card. Get out of here.
She's Prisia, that's fine.
You have to pick an Alice Cluster card.
She's from Alice Cluster.
The 3-drop? The red green?
What about Battle Cow?
Battle Cow.
Okay, so Battle Cow.
Whatever. Yeah, dude, Battle Cow.
The Battle Cow, he's OP. He's strength counters.
So we pick Battle Cow. What's your spell, Derrick?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's hard with Alice Cluster spells. I can't even remember.
Yeah, it's been so long.
I remember playing with Alice Cluster cards, but I don't know about you guys, but all the tournaments around here, they did early rotation to Alice, so it was we taught standalone, but then almost like a set later, we got all the Lapis stuff. So everything with Alice, I just kind of remember jammed together with Lapis stuff. So I remember I played this Alice card with this Lapis card, and I'm like, well, that doesn't really work for this.
Steven is selling us. Steven Holschleiser in the chat tells us Enraged Knight and Down the Drain.
Enraged Knight, sir.
Enraged.
Come on.
Isn't it Lapis?
Yes.
Enraged.
That was his typo. It was great. I still have lots of those.
Enraged Knight and Down the Drain.
Knight. It's got that extra range. Down the Drain would be a really nice reprint.
I would like to. I think I would see that. However, here's the spell that I'm going to pick. I would like to see. I think I would like to see.
Yeah, I don't think that counts.
I'd like to see Charm of the Princess.
Oh yeah, West Wall of Wind. I thought that was Lapis too, isn't it?
Lapis. That's
right.
Lapis.
It's from. Is it? Yeah.
It's Lapis.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Charm of the Princess, but as a mage art.
See, chat just keeps recommending things from Lapis as well. I'm not the only one.
So Charm of the Princess. The
Steal a dude.
Charm of the Princess, the 2-drop X permanently steal a dude, but make it a mage art.
Yeah, but now you're changing the card. Come on, Jeremy.
I'm giving it a subtype. I'm giving it a subtype.
No. It's too much.
That's fair. Okay. That's what I would do. If they could give me a choice.
Rapid growth the blade art then?
Can we make rapid? No.
Oh, Beastly Attack.
Beastly Attack?
Yeah.
I'd be down for Beastly Attack.
And Beastly Attack.
Oh.
Beastly Attack?
Yeah, okay. That would make sense. Beastly Attack would make a lot of sense.
Beastly Attack would be dope.
Or wait, hold up.
You sold me on
Beastly Attack or the Beast Queen's counterattack?
Beastly Attack. You're thinking Beastly Attack. Beastly Attack came first.
Beastly Attack's the quick cast one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 3 cost?
I think that's the one we're thinking of.
Yeah, it's the 3-cost quick cast. Yeah, that's what you're talking about.
What was Beast Queen's counterattack again?
Also that one. That one is also
Beast Queen's
cool.
counterattack was
Like,
the same
it's something
thing.
Plus four, and then dual choose something.
Yeah, Beast Queen's counterattack was the same. Was like kind of the same thing, but
Okay, yeah, I was thinking Wall of Wind was TMS. Okay, yeah, so yes, Wall of Wind. There we go.
someone's saying Dark Alice, Jane Ruler, and her regalia. That is neither a
wow.
spell nor a resonator, so that
Yeah,
doesn't
I
work.
don't think that
think
fits
so.
within the context
They
of what the
didn't
question
get me
was.
because they said
By any means.
spells and resonators.
I'm trying to think.
But I got you, Toby.
I would
Go ahead.
love to see. I think a spell or a resonator that I would love to see come back for those rulers is I would like to see Medusa come back.
Yeah.
Medusa.
The 3-drop, put a thing
She's
back
the
on.
only
If
player-
Gorgon
Like
are the
Gorgon.
shit.
Yeah, you know what? They should just bring back all the Gorgons and actually give them a purpose because they made 3 and then they just ditched the whole time.
Yeah.
Medusa was like,
Psych.
okay, and then like it was just like that was it.
Well, it's like Medusa's okay. The other 2 are meh, and then okay, there's no more. All right, I guess we're moving.
yeah,
on.
we had 3 Gorgons and then we
Have a
done.
fusion dance torn into Gorgon.
Yeah. Someone's saying Behemoth, the
Behemoth
Earth
was
Eater.
pretty solid. I will
It's a cool
say
card.
that. I did like Behemoth, but he was never usable. Like he just.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what gets possibly reprinted. I think there's some cool options. I think that all of the reprints.
Oh,
From-
was Beast Queen's counterattack the one that had the dual
Oh,
truth style
holy-
effect on it?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that would be amazing. Okay, I'm down. You sold
Someone's
me.
saying Mariabella's work and remote. Babatunde saying Mariabella's work and remote control beast. Someone's
never
clearly
did that.
about machines.
Remote
I think
control
I think
golem.
work could be there, but I don't think the
and
beast
March.
would fit in very well.
You want March and the
March?
Machine Lord? I'm gonna
March
kick
and
you out of
the
this
March
chat.
and the
I'm
Machine
kicking you
Lord,
out. I am
baby.
kicking you out of this chat, Derrick.
Clash G tank.
Go for it, that one 2020.
Clash U tank is.
That's a regalia, sir.
I would like to
count.
see class. Let's just bring. Can we,
Remember
yeah,
when
can we
said
bring back
rulers
class?
don't count as
I'll
spells?
burn.
Regalia also do not count as spells.
I'll burn all of my potential choices just to bring black class G's tank.
Wall of Wind, bam.
There you go.
I think Unseen Pressure would be a great reprint.
Yeah,
I agree.
So the thing about Unseen Pressure, and I mentioned this too, and then someone just like, well, most things don't fall within the criteria of being able to be hit by Unseen Pressure these days. I'm like, yeah, that's fair.
Except
they're just-
STA.
I'm thinking about the abbreviation stands for. I'm drawing a
Space
blank.
time Emily.
Oh, I guess, yeah, but
I think unseen pressure could be a
Space
solid
Time works on
reprint.
everything. Space Time is just amazing.
Yeah,
It's
it's great.
hell. It could even just be draw a card on your own guy if you really need to. Like Space Time not only just so flexible.
Black Moonbeam? No.
Get out.
We
Nope.
got the Memoria. It's got to count, right?
Yeah, it is a Memoria. It got reprinted.
Honestly, I don't think ruler killing is really like that big of a deal. Like we have, well, we've got the Amelgus one, the black red. It kills a ruler too. I'm like, it doesn't.
Almost everything in ISIS.
You can't like you can respond to it, but sure, like it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
We
the
have
other
these-
thing is too is like
Actually.
against the stranger rulers, once they flip, you kind of want to let
Yeah.
them stay on their J ruler side because
Yeah,
you're just
you
like
don't actually care about.
you
them,
will-
Like,
like,
actually, I regret flipping the whole time. Can I go back?
And Bloody Break takes care of Melgus pretty quickly. So if you have another like Melgus style ruler, like okay, unless it has a way to get imperishable immediately, then and I remember I think Faria can get Eternal once with her Godder, but
Yeah,
has
she
no
can
way
get
of
Eternal
returning
one
that,
time.
and it's whatever. Like you
I think
actually
there's
a lot of
that,
time want
4-mana
them on the front
bird.
side anyway.
The 4-mana bird can give your J ruler imperishable. The one you can play from your graveyard.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right.
You want me to play 4 mana?
Yeah.
Yeah, at that
obviously-
point, I think
Four
at that
mana
point, I think it's a fair
bird.
counterplay. I think it's fair at that point when they pay 4 mana to
You
save
didn't
their-
look at my graveyard, and I had 4 mana up. You deserve this.
Oh no.
no, I think it. I'm excited. I do hope that spoilers come in the next week. I also really hope that we start to see more. I really hope that we see more GP
I guess
announcements.
we did get the Shion card spoiled too, right?
Oh yes, we do have the Shion, the new Shion card. It's produced blue or black for Mage Arts on a 1-drop body.
So see, they're basically working their way towards Sacred Elf when they spoil that. So
Hmm.
So set 3 will have Sacred Elf back,
there we go. See,
and then sorry, I apologize. Set 3 will have Elvish Priest, and then set 4 will have Sacred Elf. We got to work our way down. We're gonna work our way down the line.
Reflector Frame Resonator was awful. Don't even
The
bring that
shift?
up.
Didn't
I don't think
do
we
it
ever
too
bring
bad.
back shifts. I would like to see stealth come back, but have them update the
Shifts would be
CR.
cool, but I'm more about getting not stealth, the spells.
Standbys?
Yeah,
Chance
standbys. Yeah, I would love standbys.
Well, we
back.
still have access to chance standbys, right? We could
You can
always do that.
you can
just
always
set
put a
random
card
cards
face down.
and pretend
Yeah.
they're- yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I paid to. Here you go.
What have he? What has he done? No, I think if they're gonna bring with Rezard, I would love to see them bring stealth back, but they have to update the CR to fix stealth in order to do it.
Don't update the CR. Just let
Don't
it
get me no, sorry. Let me say that. As a stealth player, please don't fix the CR. As someone who views the game as a whole, please fix the CR with stealth.
No, we just fix. Don't cheat to work on stealth. And
Oh man, done.
Hope this one ain't broken.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, let me play this Resonator that doesn't have quick cast at quick cast speed, but it's not actually quick cast.
Yeah,
Nailed
you
it.
know.
Got it.
My biggest thing for stealth is that you can do it the turn you set it, which you can't even do with actual standbys.
That's why I'm
and it
saying you
blows
fix the
my
CR.
mind.
That's literally
Yeah.
exactly what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, Dylan.
Yeah, I just remember that being a thing, and I'm like, but I thought it's a standby. It's like, no, you're playing it like it was a standby, you silly goose.
Yeah, it's not actually a standby. Rules? Psh.
It's actually a boat.
It's what made Risa and Melder so good. Because you were just like, cool, on my turn, play 2 4-drops face down for a total of 4. Immediately
Honestly, those
bring
were
them
like-
out for 0.
Those were like the best formats when you had like the Riser and the Melder and all that stuff, Riser and Melder and stuff, and you're just like, oh well, gonna chain 4 of these together, I guess. I don't know.
Ryza, Melder, and Bears. Oh my.
Yeah,
the best
dude.
thing was like putting like Bear Magic or STA down. and making sense or
I really
Boger
hope
stuff.
we never get Bear Magic.
I actually did that to
back.
someone
I
in
hate that
tournament,
spell
and it
so
won me the
much. That
game.
was the worst thing for that format ever. I mean, it's you couldn't play anything that was bigger than like.
Oh,
3
Bear
mana.
Magic?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Bear
That's
Magic
such a
was there.
stupid
That's also not an Alice cluster card. It's a
I'm
Lapis
just
cluster
saying.
card.
Listen, with I Spy, you never know. Okay.
That's true. We did see Thunder reprinted.
The Dual Stones are also not
That's
from
fine, give me
Alice
back
Cluster.
Dual
They're
Truth.
from Grim Cluster, but here we are. They're
What?
here.
Okay, so what do you think? We have 5 minutes here. We're looking at the colors of Valentina Machina Priscia. We're looking at green, blue, black, and red. Alice Origins 1 had 1 Grim reprint in the form of Thunder.
And the Dual Stones.
Shut up. I'm not talking about
There we go.
stones. I'm not talking about stones. What Grim cluster card could you possibly bring to support green, blue, black, red, Valentina Machina Priscia?
Obviously, Bloody Moon.
Stop! Stop with both of you. I'm kicking you out of the chat. Permanently. Bloody Moon and Law of Silence? Leave. Leave.
You're right. Bring back Gretel. That'll fix everything.
Yeah, bring back
Oh, no.
Gretel.
Not again. Honestly, it's probably
This guy has the best ideas. Let's just go with him.
Yeah.
I Spy. I think he's available.
Yeah, there you go. If I had to think of a single, I would like to see. I'd like to see Glimpse of Kaguya come back.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Having a-
I've been wanting that card back for so
That would really
long.
change things a lot, having a way to interact with activates, but
I've been wanting that card for so long.
doesn't work for rulers either. Yeah, I could see it coming back.
It works for rulers too, right?
I make it a major.
I thought it was only Resonator.
It just
activate
cancels an
abilities.
activate ability
Yeah,
That's just any activate.
Any
Yep.
activate.
Sack altar.
and draws a
Nope.
card.
Yeah, it does.
If
It
I
does
if I
draw
was
a
to
card.
bring back a
Two-mana.
single Grim Cluster card for this next set, I would bring back Glimpse of Kaguya.
Oh yeah, you're right. It is just any
Any activate.
Well, drawing a card's important for stuff like Keys' Cog Glimpse. If they don't draw a card, they're probably not going to see a huge amount of play.
Right. Book of Ebon.
Book of
That'd be
Ebon?
Book of
no,
Ebon
don't-
would be a cool
don't-
bring
Don't
back.
open that up.
Wait.
No, not the book.
Yamada.
Yamada, let's do this. What about Yamada?
Yamada.
Jeez, Yamada and then Oh no, it only has
You would
200
Yamada.
attack, so it would get around Light of Sacred
That's-
Spirit.
I just remember this one dude at an ARG just actually hard summoned Yamada, and we were just like, "What the hell is happening here?"
We're
He just
getting rapid
actually
growth.
paid his
Yamada
entire
rapid growth.
cost.
Yamada
Yeah,
Rapid Growth hit you 8
Yamada,
times for
bam.
600 when the game's over. Oh,
Actually,
good
I
stuff.
think I'd want back Dream of Julia.
Ooh.
Yeah, that card's so spicy.
Instant speed flickers.
Well,
Yeah.
With the
it's such a
changes,
flexible card,
to
too.
It's
enter effects,
flexible.
though, I don't know if I could allow Dream of Julia to come back.
You're right. Let's go with Gretel instead. That's
Yeah,
better.
clearly. Yeah, Gretel. Let's just bring Gretel.
exactly.
No big deal.
It's fine.
Someone bring. Oh, jeez! Please reprint Cheshire Cat. Please.
No.
I was too broken with when we went over this, Jeremy. Come on.
Jeez, can you imagine a deck that is 4 Dark Alice, 4 Gwyn, 4 Cheshire Cats?
I'm just trying to think of what they're gonna do for the other color rulers, because I think all the obvious color mixtures have been explored already. So
Yeah. Jeez, Louise. Lapis
I'm just kind of
Darkstorm?
curious.
That'd be an interesting
They'll
choice.
actually make,
Soul Hunt?
the Hanzo Cheshire.
But that would be more of a
Soul
Rezard
Hunt.
card. Soul Hunt as a Rezard card would be cool. That's a
Ooh.
solid card.
yeah, it's important that you
Soul
nag
Hunt's
real hard.
I
I'd,
like negging.
I'd be down for Soul
It's the
Hunt coming
Rezard
back.
way.
Hold on.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Soul Hunt as a memorial this next set, because it was a promo.
As a what?
At one, Soul Hunt as a memorial. One of the
Oh,
memorials.
okay. Sorry, you cut out
Yeah,
at the word
we're-
memorial.
Oh,
for me,
because it was
so-
a promo. So we'll see.
Mhm.
I'd like to see Soul Hunt coming back with set 3 would be pretty cool. I like that card a lot.
Alice's castling was definitely a pretty interesting card.
Stab. I love that card to death, but I don't think that card can come back.
I don't think I want that card. in the
It was a
format right now.
really unique card because it wasn't straight up broken. You had to really plan what was going on around it, right? But
Yeah,
it
but
was
I
a
think
really
with
good card.
the changes to enter effects and everything
Sign of the
else,
future?
Alice's
Man, I
castling.
wish. Sign of the future. Well, the other thing I think is that they would need to make it so that standbys actually need the stone requirement, because most of the old ones didn't actually have any stone requirement at all.
Yeah.
So Sign of the Future is a really good example of why they would need to change that rule.
Sign of the Future, you just set it and you just go like, well,
Yeah, it's even better than casting it 90% of the time. Like, hey, guess what I have? Is it Sign of the Future? No, I just set my random death scythe, but you know.
Flames of the Outer
Oh,
World.
yeah.
That would be
That
cool
was a
to
good
see come
choice.
back. Flame of the Outer World coming back would be kind of cool.
I think Flame of the Outer World isn't actually as good as we remember it to be.
Oh, I
Just
agree. I
thinking
don't think
about
it's as
it.
good as we remember.
World.
It
What?
could easily come back. It's actually pretty low.
That's what I'm
power
saying. Like, I
compared to
think
a lot
it
of
could.
stuff
I think
we
it could come back, and I
It
wouldn't
just
be
does
concerned.
1,000
It'd be
now.
good though. I'd appreciate it.
But it's red black, so
have.
we're not gonna
like,
see that.
Having
Lots
not
of
a way
black
for them
saints.
not to respond to it is actually pretty
Mhm.
good. I think it could easily fit.
Necromancy, not
Not
Necromancy on the
having
Undead
our-
Lord. I'll pass on Necromancy on the
having our
Undead
Oh,
Lord.
Lord.
harvesting
anything.
season for plus what 800 to my next summon? Like, no, I'm okay.
Yeah, no thanks.
No.
So that is going to do us for tonight. A good discussion. I've really enjoyed seeing all these cards being referenced in the chat. It brings back the memories. Back in my day, needing the stones was rule of the game. Then they changed it. Yep, they changed it. And then cards had requirements for it.
Yeah, I don't. That was such a while back and forth. They changed it, then they wrote it on the cards. Like,
Yeah.
why?
It's really weird. But thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. It has been an absolute pleasure. I hope you guys have enjoyed the podcast tonight. If you have enjoyed it, please consider clicking that join button down below. It is a very easy monthly commitment and goes directly to support the channel, plus gets you all kinds of cool perks. But until next time, this just a heads up, this week we will be showing off the replays of the Rogues Guild Gauntlet that was ISIS going up against the Gauntlet. This Friday, we will have myself at the Rogues Guild playing through the Gauntlet on Adam, trying to finally score that 4-0 victory for the first time on the Gauntlet. Everyone on the Rogues Guild are telling me that it's not possible, but I'm going to try.
I'm rooting for you, man.
Gonna get first.
So we'll have to see how it goes. But until next time, this has been myself, Jeremy Franklin, and I have been joined by Derrick Mukwineza, Dylan Hunt, and Stuart. I don't want to pronounce your last name incorrectly.
It's okay.
And we'll see you all next time. So
He's been
until
through it his
then,
whole life.
we'll see you all next week. So until then, class dismissed. Have a good one, everybody.